The setups are different. The culture is different. The way they do business is different. There's so much business out there for everyone that it's just about making those connections and making sure you're connecting those dots. And it got a little crazy. I ended up with over 50 doors in the first 6 months.
Today I'm speaking with Amy Hanson, current broker-owner at PenFen Realty Texas, formerly A+ Property Management in Plano, Texas. Amy is the current president of NARPM. She has sold a property management business, she has started a property management business from scratch, and she has experience buying a property management company. So obviously Amy has had a ton of experience in the property management industry. She's also been doing this for more than 2 decades. And at this point, she has scaled her business to over 250 doors after starting over from scratch from previously selling her first property management company. So without further ado, I'm excited to introduce you to Amy. Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. Really excited to speak with you. Just to kick things off, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into property management?
Well, sure. Thanks for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. I love getting to talk about property management. I fell into property management completely by accident. I, like many of my counterparts, probably never thought I'd be doing property management for over 20 years. I surely did not go to my 5th grade career day and go, I want to be a property manager. That did not happen. But I bought a real estate company back in 2006, and they had a property management division. And I knew absolutely nothing about property management. And I learned very quickly I was doing all of it wrong, 100% wrong. So I had a lot to learn. And it was learned by trial and error in the beginning. And as I grew and developed through that job and relationship, I figured out that, hey, you could actually make some money doing some property management if you set it up right. So that's kind of how it all started. Completely by accident.
What would you say some of the biggest mistakes you made at first were?
Well, property management's tough because there's not a book on the shelf. Like, you've got lots of beautiful books behind you, I've got books behind me, but there's no one book that you pull off the shelf and voila, it's got every answer you need to know in property management. Unfortunately, there are so few of us that do this and do it right. There's not a whole lot of education out there at the local level that tells people how to set it up right. So I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. Of course, back then, feels like a million years ago, we did everything on paper, and we had folders and files and paper everywhere. And so we were really tied to that paper, to that file, to that documentation in there, and it made it very difficult to grow and develop. And so I think that was one of the mistakes that I learned about. I ended up having the opportunity to sell the company that I bought 10 years after I bought it, and I sold it. So when I started fresh, brand new with a brand new company, I kind of knew what all the mistakes were from the previous company. And so it was kind of the perfect storm. It was awesome to be able to start a property management company from scratch, but with 10 years of experience. So that helped tremendously.
So here, let's go back. Let's go to the purchase of the first company.
Sure.
When you purchased that company, I assume you had purchased it for the real estate side and just kind of happened to come with a property management division. Is that what that looked like?
That's right.
How many doors came with the company?
Well, I had been a real estate agent for over 10 years at the time that I purchased that. And so you're right. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be exciting. I'm going to own a real estate company. Yay. And so then they're like, yeah, we have a few rentals. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you collect rent and you get paid, and that sounds pretty cool. And that's really all I knew. And they said, yeah, we have about 90 of them. I'm like, oh, well, okay, whatever. And they got all those by accident. That was in San Antonio. We had a huge military population there. And with that population, a lot of them moved. And they moved and they didn't want to sell, or they couldn't sell, or they had just purchased and they were having to move. And so they would come into the office and say, hey, we need some help. Can you do this? And so they never even advertised it, promoted it, nothing. It was all by accidental that they grew to 90 doors. And so, yeah, I knew nothing about it until after I had purchased it. And then it was, wow, this is a lot to learn.
And I guess at what point did you sell it? Were you still at around 90 doors when you sold it, or did you grow it and then sell it? What did that look like?
Well, back in 2007 and 2008, our market completely crashed, like most markets. And at the time I thought, oh gosh, is this it? Is this the beginning of the end? Am I going out of business? And I said, you know what? Maybe this property management thing could be something. Like, we're making money every month. Well, property management is what kept the lights on for years during those bad times. And so all of the people that couldn't sell their house, all the people that wanted to buy but couldn't buy, they were caught up in the whole mess. They rented and they brought rentals on board. So we actually doubled our door count. We went all the way up to 250 doors by the time I actually sold the company. But we had just so much opportunity to be able to take that property management business and help our agents. It provided rental income for our agents as well, and leasing agent commissions. And then it provided a whole bunch of sales once the market turned around. So it really was, it was the thing that kept us alive during that period of time.
That's something we see often, where it pairs really nicely with real estate if you do both, because of the fact that, I mean, you can end up managing the property, help them for years, and then when they're ready to sell it, you end up with the commission. So now you have a much larger client lifetime value because you have the management fees plus the commission, whereas if you were just doing the real estate sales, you wouldn't have the management fees for years, and you also probably wouldn't have that direct relationship with them where they're going to trust you with the sale of their property as well.
Right.
So it definitely pairs nicely. So you were in San Antonio, and I know now you're in Plano. What is it that made you sell the business and then decide, you know what, I'm going to start up completely from scratch now?
Well, one quick thing about your comment about commissions and management fees. So the beautiful thing when you're running a management company is you have a lot of investors. We do work with a lot of accidental landlords, but there are a lot of investors out there. And so when we have a property that's coming to market, we can go to our investor base, even if the property is already leased. It's actually even better for our investor base to say, hey, guess what? 123 Main Street's coming to the market. Are you interested in picking up another investment property to keep in your portfolio? So if we can help them acquire the property, not only are we able to collect a management fee and other ancillary fees, but we're getting a real estate commission. We can transfer it to a new investor, help them collect more commissions, and then we can sell it again and maybe help them do a 1031 and pick up something else. I mean, the possibilities are truly endless in this particular segment. So after I bought the property management company, or bought the real estate company that had a property management division, I started going to the local board of realtors, and they had a property management committee. And everybody kept saying this thing, NARPM. I'm like, what are they talking about? I was like, is this like a secret handshake thing? Like, what is it? And so they said, oh, if you really want to take your business to the next level. I'm like, well, let me check it out. So I went to my first NARPM meeting. I was like, oh no, this is terrible. I'm doing everything wrong, which was like fantastic for me. I'm like, oh, this is where I need to be. This is the group that's going to help me change and develop. I actually had met a friend through NARPM. I've got tons of friends through NARPM now, but I met a friend back then, and joking one day, I said, there are days that, I'm going to just sell this company and I'm going to retire and be done with it. And I was kind of half joking, but I got an offer, an unsolicited offer, which a lot of property managers get over the years. And it didn't fit what I was trying to do long term, but I happened to mention it to my friend, and they're like, hey, well, I would love to triple my door count by buying your company. So we just kind of sat down at lunch and figured it out and made it happen. This was long before the days of figuring out. We didn't have the NARPM accounting standards. We didn't have systems and processes we didn't have any of that stuff. So, but part of that deal, as with most deals when you sell a property management company, there was a do not compete for my particular area. And so if I wanted to stay in the business, I would have to move. And it was time. I had been there for 10 years. It was time for a change of pace, change of scenery. I had some family that lived in the Dallas area. And so I had just kind of mentioned it to them. They're like, well, hey, move to Dallas and check it out. So I thought, okay, why not? So it was pretty wild story.
It was kind of the friend you met through NARPM ended up offering to purchase your company, and you were like, you know what, I'm ready to move anyways. So I'm going to move to basically Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and start up there.
I think that's something that a lot of property managers and broker owners don't understand. They're looking for a list of property management companies for sale, and there are some of those, but most of the time these transactions are done between people that know each other. Hey, I'm looking to retire, I'm looking to move, I'm tired of doing the business, whatever it is. I wanted to sell my company. And sometimes they're not even wanting to sell. Somebody comes along and says, hey, I want to buy it. And you're like, oh, okay, let me think about that. But a lot of it is about that relationship. I mean, property management is a relationship business. And so there are lots of companies and lots of doors for sale and lots of opportunities out there to grow if you want to grow through that that model. A lot of people like to grow organically, but you can grow by mergers, acquisitions, door purchases, whatever. So there's lots of it.
On the topic of growth, so you moved to Plano. You started up from scratch there, so it wasn't like you acquired 90 doors right off the bat. What did that look like? Let's walk through the first 6 months of the business, because now you're there, you're like, okay, I have a company and I have no properties. So.
I was so bored. I was like, oh, please, somebody call me on the phone. I need somebody to talk to. Well, it was wild because it's still in Texas, but a totally different market. And they do things totally different, from one metropolitan area to the other. The setups are different. The culture is different. The way they do business is different. So I spent a lot of time learning about that. And I knew that in order to be successful long term, it's again about the relationships. So I needed to go where I could build those relationships. And that was with the local board of realtors. So I got involved at the local board. I had plenty of time because I had 0 doors. And my goal originally was, hey, if I could just get, 2 doors a month, if I could just get like 50 doors over a couple of years, that'd be great. Perfect, right? And it would be just me. I'm just going to run it by myself. I'm not going to do a big, huge thing like I did before. And I found out very quickly that a lot of the agents here did not do property management, nor did they want anything to do with leasing or property management. And so it was a target-rich environment, as they say.
In what year was this?
I'm sorry?
What year was it that you started up in Plano?
So I moved in 2016 and I opened my business in 2017. And so it started out, pretty slow. And I still remember when I got my first call or first couple of calls, I was like so excited, It was so fun to do the business development side and bring on owners and try to explain to them how the whole process worked. So that it was exciting. And honestly, there's so much business out there for everyone that it's just about making those connections and making sure you're connecting those dots. And it got a little crazy. I ended up with over 50 doors in the first 6 months. And
all through the realtor network that you had built.
Yeah. And I tried, when I first started, I thought, oh, well, maybe I should, because I don't know anybody, maybe I should do some paid ads and let me do some stuff on the internet like Thumbtack and Angie's List and Yelp and all of those different website type of things, paid for a lot of leads. But there's really nothing like a personal referral. There's just something about it that just resonates with people. That's how I built my business. And the next thing I knew, I had 115 doors and I was like, oh, I got a problem because I'm doing this by myself and now I am at max capacity and I've got to figure out what I'm going to do. And so I decided to, bring on some additional help and start growing it again. And here we are, basically 6 years later at 240 doors again. Here we go.
So what was the first position that you had hired for?
First position, maintenance. And if I ever give any advice to any new property managers, if you're going to do it yourself, by the time you get to 60 doors, 70 doors, you need to have a maintenance helper, a coordinator, a contractor, somebody to help with the maintenance. Maintenance will absolutely eat you alive. And I don't believe if you're an owner operator that you can really truly provide the best customer service if you're trying to do 125, 150 doors by yourself without any help. And that's a cause for burnout, big time burnout, quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, maintenance was number one. What's that?
Which is something you definitely want to avoid as a business owner.
Yeah. And this business is hard. Unfortunately, the world is moving super fast and people expect immediate response, immediate results. The tenants call at 8 a.m., my toilet is broken, and they think that I can send a plumber in the Amazon truck and be there in 2 hours with their new toilet. So it's hard. It's a hard business to be able to deliver those types of services. And, COVID,
and you're constantly hearing about the people that are unhappy versus people that are happy, right? Because if they're happy, they're living in their home, they're not going to bother you.
Right. Nobody calls to say, you know what, Amy, you're doing a great job. Thank you. No.
Exactly.
They call to say thank you.
for sure. So at this point, at around 240 doors, how many people are on your team right now and what are their roles?
So we have 5 now. So I do a lot of the marketing and business development as well. We do have a full-time maintenance coordinator. That is their one and only job. We have full-time admin. Those are both remote team member positions. Our full-time admin is the one that's, taking the phone calls, handling all of the paperwork, doing all the inputting into our software, uploading photos, all that, the administrative work that needs to be done on these files. And it's a lot that has to be done. Then I have my leasing agent slash BDM. He does all the onboarding, the leasing, getting everybody moved in. And then we have a field tech. And our field tech is the one that's running around to all the properties, making sure everything's ready to go, move-ins, move-outs, periodics, deliver this over here, pick up this over there, go to Home Depot, buy this, take it over there, all of the running around stuff. And when you've got this kind of volume, you really do need that runner, because if you spend all your time in the car, you're never going to get everything done. So that works. That's worked for us. So.
And what does your day-to-day look like at this point?
Well, my day-to-day, I do spend quite a bit of time out of the office networking and still maintaining those relationships. The personal relationships are huge, and the online relationships are huge. So what I have found, and I wish I would have figured this out years ago, but people believe anything they read on Google. And so if you can figure out a way to get your online presence set up by Google My Business, Google reviews, all of those things, if you can get all of that together and have it ready to go, that is the ticket to get things going. I had somebody, we met for lunch a couple of weeks back, and she said, hey, I really want to grow my business and I want to do this, I want to do that. I said, well, hey, let's look at your website. And she goes, oh, I don't have one. I'm like, how do you live and work in 2025 and you don't have a website? Like, step one, pick out a name, get a tax ID, get a website. I mean, that's just, it should be part of that. And I tried to explain to them, these people are going to check you out online before they ever pick up that phone and call you. They're going to read your reviews. They're going to read your stories. They're going to search you on Google to see what they find out about you. They're going to stalk you on Facebook. I mean, it's amazing what people will look at before they actually make a call to make that sale and sign up for property management. So you've got to have that presence. So we have done a whole lot of work these last couple years in making sure that our Google reviews are constantly updating and refreshing and adding more Google reviews and responding to Google reviews. Because sometimes we miss the mark, and sometimes we goof up, and sometimes you just got somebody that's really unhappy with everything. But I've gotten a lot of business from people that have read the Google reviews and read our response to the Google reviews and said, oh, well, you actually cared enough to read it, respond to it, take action on it, etc. And so most of those leads now that come in, typically from our website, from Google, etc., when they come in, it's not a, hey, Amy, how much do you charge? Will you do this? Will you do that? Can I get this? Can I get that? All of our services are on our website. All of our pricing's on our website. So when they come to us, they're like, okay, I read all your stuff. I'm ready. Like, what can you rent my house for? And send me a contract. So the sales side of the property management business has dramatically decreased for us. We used to have to go out and kind of sell it and have a whole listing presentation and a dog and pony show and, hey, we want to rent your property. And now it's all about results, and what your reputation is in the marketplace. So it's totally changed.
Yeah, I mean, you're at a point where you have enough social proof that it sells itself. So as you said, your fees are listed on your site. They know more or less how the pricing works. They've done a bunch of research before they ever reached out. They see that you're one of the highest rated property management companies in the local area. That's going to sell for you. So when they do reach out, it's a lot warmer than if it's somebody that just came through Thumbtack or some sort of other lead channel where they've never really heard about you and they just filled out a form, right? So definitely that's going to play a huge factor there. So if we kind of reminisce, let's say, because you've been in property management now for a while, during your time in property management, what would you say the craziest or story or experience that you've encountered has been?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. Everybody says, Amy, you should write a book. I'm like, I don't have time to write a book, but it sounds like a great idea someday. Yeah, absolutely. The part I love about property management is being able to help people, being able to find people homes that, we're proud to offer and they're proud to live in. I mean, that's really an exciting situation. But at the same time, sometimes people don't always make the best decisions. We have a lot of freezing weather in Dallas, which is really wild. We have snow and we get hail, and like when I was in San Antonio, like if it snowed once every 10 years, that was amazing. But Dallas snows like every year, like at least one day. I'm so excited. So, we as property managers send out our note to all of our tenants, hey, make sure you're leaving your faucets dripping. It's gonna freeze and we don't want your pipes to freeze. Well, One of our tenants decided that they weren't really sure which way to turn the faucet on, and they weren't sure if it was dripping or not dripping because at that point the pipes had already frozen. So they just turned it on all the way thinking, well, that'll help thaw it out. Well, it flooded the house. It flooded the entire house. And so, it's huge challenges like that, and how you try so hard to mitigate some of that stuff up front, and yet stuff still happens. So it's crazy.
Any tips for property managers out there that have to deal with stressful situations? Like, how do you get through that without losing as much sleep as possible? Let's say.
Well, we learned some things a couple years ago. Half of Texas lost power for a week with snow and it below zero for days and days on end. And we had encountered cold weather before. It would ice, it would snow, and 24 hours later it was gone. Well, this time it came and it stayed. And what we didn't anticipate this time is that people just left. They literally just packed up and left. They went to hotels, they went to their friend's house, they went out of state, they went wherever they could go to get away from what we call snowmageddon, which was what happened. And that caused problems that we never anticipated. No one was going to be there when the water came back on and the water was flowing, or the pipe burst and no one was around to see that it burst. And so we found that we had to go back to all of our tenants and say, not only did we send you freezing precautions, we need to know if you're actually home. Because if you're not, we're gonna need to send someone in a 4x4 truck that can get through the snow to get to the water meter to cut everything off because they left and there was no power. So it was definitely a challenge. The hardest part of that whole deal was figuring out where the water meters were because they were all under snow. So our contractor would call us and they'd say, okay, I'm standing by the front sidewalk, and we'd look at the pictures online and blow them up trying to figure out where the water meter was. Okay, we think it's 3 steps to the right or 4 steps to the left or whatever, just so they didn't have to dig up all this snow to try to find a water meter. It was crazy. But we all came together, we made it happen. And then the houses that did have problems, we couldn't get plumbing parts in Texas for weeks and weeks. So we would call our friends in other states and say, hey, I need this part and this part and this part. If I send you my Home Depot list, can you run to your local Home Depot, buy everything they have and ship it to me? So that's how we got plumbing parts that we needed in Texas.
Yeah, that can definitely be stressful, but I guess everybody's dealing with it, and in that type of situation, people are a little bit more understanding because it's an outlier, I guess we'll say.
Absolutely.
So in terms of clientele, do you generally prefer working with investors that have a dozen plus stores, or with like the smaller kind of, call them mom and pop investor who has maybe 1 or 2 rental properties?
Yeah, I really love we call them the accidental investor. They have 1 or 2 houses. Maybe they bought it because they want to be a landlord, or they inherited, or they can't sell it, or there's 100 different reasons why. But they have no idea what they're in for. And so I like being able to walk them through the process. And at first they are super nervous, like, call me about everything, tell me about everything. If you spend 10 cents, I need to know about it type of deal. And then you can tell, as the months go by, they kind of relax and they settle in. They're like, okay, we know you've got it. Hey, there was a problem and we fixed it. Hey, we put tenants in your house, and hey, they're paying rent on time. And hey, it's turning over. And so seeing the change on those investors go from, oh my God, I'm so scared to death, I'm so scared to give you the keys to my house, to, hey, that wasn't so bad, maybe I should buy another one. That's really, really fun and exciting. If I had to name our perfect client, it would be a person with a small portfolio like that, 1 door, 2 doors, etc., that does not live in the state of Texas. We want them to truly depend on us to take care of their property. We want them to be able to let it go and let us manage it and let us take care of it for us. So we tell them, give us the keys and move. We got you. We got you. We're going to take care of you.
Got you. So generally that kind of accidental landlord is that would be your ideal client, I guess.
Sure, yeah. Those are my favorite. And it's fun to teach them. It's fun to share with them. And it's fun to say, hey, you might want to think about this or think about that. So one of our investors just called, I don't know, a month or 2 ago. He's like, Amy, I got to sell the house. I'm like, oh, we got a tenant in there. Like, this wasn't the plan. I remember we talked about the plan. This is not the plan. What's going on? Something's happened. He said, well, the house was in my mama's name, and my mom passed away, and I inherited the house. Okay, great. I knew that had happened already. So, all right, so something else changed. What else changed? Well, when it came time for the insurance to renew, I just put the insurance in my name. Well, because there was an existing mortgage still on the property, the mortgage company wouldn't recognize my name and my insurance. So they put forced placed insurance on the house at like quadruple the rate that it should be. And I said, oh my goodness, well, I think that there's a way we could fix that by making a tweak to the policy that says it's the estate of your mom instead of in your name, or add it as an estate of. And they're like, oh, well, I didn't even know that was possible. I'm like, well, I wish you would have called me 4 months ago. I could have saved you a whole bunch of money. But they were actually able to go back to their insurance company, change the insurance, just the name on the account, get the forced place insurance off. And what a huge headache and relief that is to be able to help people through weird situations. And now they're like, oh, okay, now we want to keep it. Okay, great.
Do you have a set process in place on how you deal with owners in terms of communication? Because I can imagine if you have 240 owners that are all calling you every day with issues, it would be too much to handle. But like, do you have set check-in times? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have set check-in times. Typically the 30 days window when the property is turning over is the heaviest time. So we try to communicate in advance with the tenants that are moving out, the owners, hey, the tenants are moving out and here's what we're doing and here's what's happening. Hey, we got an application, here's what we're doing. We signed a lease, here's what we're doing, here's when they're moving in. I found that if we tell them what we're doing in advance, they're like, oh, okay, they got it. They don't have to manage us to manage their property. They let us manage it. And that, building that relationship with our owners and our tenants has resulted in fewer calls. And we tell them, hey, we really need to document everything, so please communicate with us in email so that we can have that documentation. And that way we can save our phone for emergencies, new tenants, and new owners. And that's where we want to be able to focus our time on. We don't want to have, the phone ringing off the hook all day long. We really want to be able to dedicate the time to new owners, new tenants, and then if an emergency comes in, then all hands are on deck. We can get it taken care of, and everybody knows what to do when an emergency happens. But I think it's really setting those communication systems up in advance, and then once the owners experience it, they're like, oh, okay, I've got everything I need, I know everything. If they have a question, they just pop us a chat, hey, I've got a question on blah, 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 and we take care of it. But a lot of them live overseas. We have tons and tons of owners that don't live in the U.S., and so they appreciate being able just to send us an email and we can get back to them. Having specific time frames for our entire team to respond to emails, that's a big one. If people know, hey, they may not respond in an hour, but I know within 24 hours I'm going to get an answer, or I'm going to get I don't know, but I'm going to research for you, then that brings that stress level down too. So I think it's setting those expectations from the very beginning. And that's worked for us with our owners and our tenants.
Okay. And talking about response times on the lead side, so let's say a lead calls into your business. Are you still aiming to get back to them within 24 hours, or do you try to make that section of the business quicker?
Yeah, if it's an incoming lead for a rental property, we want to get them a tour today. That is our goal. We prefer to only list vacant properties so that we can get them in that property today to tour it. Because when people are looking for a place, they want to see it today. They don't want to wait till Tuesday. They don't want to wait till next week. They want to see it today. So we try to...
The same thing?
On the owner side, our business development person will call them immediately. So as soon as that lead comes in, we will call them. We also live answer our phone. And I know this is a big topic and we could arm wrestle over it with other property managers, but I cannot tell you the amount of business we've gotten over the years because people said, you know what, I called 3 property management companies. You're the only one to answer the phone. You're the only one to call me back. So we try to live answer our phone, and that takes work. That is a commitment there from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, to live answer that phone. So we've gotten tons of business, tons of referrals on it. But yeah, getting back to that lead immediately is key. They say that the first person who contacts them will be the one that gets it, and the second person that'll get it is the one who followed up the most. So there's a benefit in that. Now, if they're not a good fit, and sometimes they're not, maybe it's the wrong area, wrong type of house, wrong type of owner. Maybe they're looking for something that we don't provide, then we try to always refer them to another professional property manager. We try to give them a resource so that somebody that we know that would actually be able to help them. So have a very strong referral network here between all of the property managers, and that's been awesome as well.
And in terms of service area, you touched on it quickly, but do you limit how far away from your office you manage properties?
We do. So we started smaller. When I was a smaller operation, I stayed just within my county. And then we have now moved out to 2 different counties and probably 6 different cities. But when you're looking at Dallas-Fort Worth, it's huge. It could take you 2 hours to get from one side to the other, one way. And so we say, oh, we're in the DFW area, but really we're on the east side of Dallas is where we are. Plano, Richardson, Melissa, Frisco, Anna, those areas. We go into Dallas and then we go west. So we have expanded our market areas, but we do try to keep it within a relative distance of our office. It would be great if everything was within 30 minutes of our office, because you can spend all day driving around to properties, and we do periodic walkthroughs on all of our properties every year. And so we're at the properties for move in, for move out, showing them the periodics. We're at the properties a lot. So a property that's 2 hours away would be hard on our team to be able to manage that.
So it's a lesson for anyone listening. You can get to 200 plus doors just by managing in your local county.
Yes.
We hear all the time where people think they need to be in multiple different metropolitan cities just to get to a couple hundred doors. That's not the case. You can really grow a business just within your local area. As you said before, there's tons of business out there. So you don't have to think, I need to be everywhere. You're actually oftentimes going to spread yourself thin if you do that.
And I think in addition to that is you have to be careful with the types of properties. We don't manage ranch properties, septics, manufactured homes, acreage situations. So I think you have to be really clear on what you're going to manage, because they all take a different skill set, and not only for your team, but also for your contractors. Mobile home housing, manufactured housing, totally different way to repair those than there are on single family versus condos versus townhomes. So I think you've got to figure out what your skill set is and really stick to that. And you can't be afraid to say no. If it's not the right property, if it's not the right fit, you know, and I know a lot of operators, they start out, oh, I want to grow. Every door is not a good door. You cannot say yes to every door. You got to say no sometimes. And that's hard to do when you're trying to grow and you're trying to build that business. But it's critical, because if you bring on the wrong doors, it could bring you down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing, if you could go back in time to when you started your journey in property management, what is the one thing that you would change that would have had the biggest impact on helping you succeed at a faster pace?
I think I wish I would have known about the other training opportunities. I mean, we've got some at the local level. We've got some, you know, through National Association of Realtors. There's some training out there. I wish I would have had more training up front to understand the process better. And I wish I would have been...
Does that mean joining NARPM sooner?
Oh, I would have loved to have joined NARPM sooner. And that's a common complaint we hear, especially at the national level, is that are like, oh, if I would have found NARPM sooner, I could have done X, Y, and Z. I didn't know NARPM existed. It was a secret. I found it by accident. So we're working on some marketing campaigns to kind of get the word out there and make sure that we're spreading the wealth and the knowledge. But I think also not being scared of technology. It's hard. Technology is hard, and it changes so fast now. It's unbelievable how fast it changes. But I was slow to go the remote team member route. I wish I would have done that sooner. I wish I would have gotten more technology sooner. We were still on paper checklists 6 years ago. You know, now everything's on our technology platform, and now we can work from anywhere in the world. But I had a hard time trusting it, because I'm a paper girl and I loved having my stacks of paper and my paper calendar, and it was hard. It was very hard to switch, but I wish I could have been more technology focused and technology forward in being able to make some of those changes. And now it's hard because there's so much out there. It's like, where do you start? Where do you begin? And how do you figure out what do you really need to be able to grow this business and help your team members? It's a lot.
Definitely. I understand that. There's information overload, and there's shiny objects everywhere, right? So it's also what are the best ones that are actually going to help move the needle forward for where you're at in your business?
Yeah. Well, AI, you know, everybody's talking about AI. We talk about it. I've been to a bunch of classes on it, and, you know, I think you've got to figure out how you're going to fit it into your business. It's here to stay. I don't think it's going away. People thought, oh, well, it's going to be robots and we're going to stick our head in the ground. Well, it's not necessarily that, but we got to see how can we work with it? How can we use it? Can we use it? Is it safe to use it? How do our customers want to interact with AI and with us? And so there's a lot of opportunity there, especially in a service business. More to come on
sure.
AI.
For sure. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. For anyone that would like to reach out to you, what's the best place for them to contact you?
So they can feel free to contact me. Email is typically best because I spend a lot of time out of the office. And that is amy.hanson@weknowtx.com. And it's been a pleasure working with you over the years. It's been great. I love the things that you're doing online and growing and helping our profession. There's a lot of opportunity in property management, and we need more professional property managers out there spreading the good word.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Amy.
All right, have a good one.